everyone, today I'll be reviewing this brand new series just dropped on Netflix. It's called Santita, and this series it is from Mexico, and it is kind of like a medical drama slash maybe sometime comedy, and it has 7 episodes. But each episode is kind of like 30 minutes something, so it is quite easy to see. And this series centers around, we see this doctor Santita. She is on this wheelchair. She's obstetrician in the show, and we see show starts with like she was about to get married to this guy Alejandro like 20 years ago, but when I guess she basically left him at the altar. This show starts with like she basically runs away from her wedding day. uh, so when after all this year Alejandro comes back to Santita's life in this show, we see how she handled with this and her past and her present. So I thought overall this series premise is definitely is very interesting about this doctor. She's on a wheelchair and she is end of the day very good hearted, and she tried to help women in need all the time. Although she is seems like really good person and trying to help, but we also see she has this gambling addiction. Like she keeps gambling and gambling, losing money that she end up like under a lot of debt. This show starts with, and we see like each episode, she's trying to help people and everything. Although when I first saw this show, I thought it will be some kind of medical drama or something. This show is not what it seems. It's actually mainly centered around, Santita, who is on wheelchair, and a lot of this show, unfortunately, does center around her sex life, her desire, and her wishes and everything. For that reason, this show sometimes, wow, it just like the random scene shows you out of nowhere. I'm like, what am I watching here? And all this talk this show has is definitely R-rated talk here, and I'm here once again. I just like, what? Like a lot of people will be surprised when they tune in to see this show. That means that overall the show is still is very watchable. I will say it's not that deep by any mean. Santita, I personally wish she didn't have this gambling issue, but she does, which is really takes away all the good thing this character tried to do for people. She's a good person, like good doctor. She still is trying to help people. She's under a lot of debt, and she constantly borrowing money from her colleague in the show, and this colleague is trying to sleep with her all the time. You're like, what? This show has some like really awkward scene. I was just like, oh wow. Constantly I felt weird watching her. But I guess that is the point for this show. It isn't very like end of the day, it is about this woman, she's trying to discover herself. Of course, when Alejandro, he comes back, and of course he has this cancer in this show, and Alejandro, who is really nice guy if I'm being honest here, and he is married, Alejandro, and his wife comes to Santita for like wow abortion for her, and I'm like, what the heck are we watching here? This show really brings all this like women, they really come to Santita for abortion like all the time, and you are like, wow, show, you are really like so this is really a woman-centered show. I don't think men will like this show that much, or maybe some men will like, who knows. But the way this show is done, it's trying to be this like woman desire, blah blah, and yeah, it was weird watching it. But same time, this show is not that deep either. As I said, it does have some comedic tone to it, so it's sometimes like, oh okay. Although I was watching dub version, maybe the actual like original language, maybe the emotional scene will feel different way, because I was watching dub version, felt like emotion didn't always hit the right places. Then again, this show was not trying to deep by any mean. So I could see this show comes back for season 2 if it is a hit on Netflix. So I don't know how it will click with the audience or not, because I suddenly thought the show was okay. Honestly, it wasn't bad. It wasn't actually bad. It was still was quite interesting. to see all these women, they're all coming to her, oh, with all this problem, and I was just listening to her, and as a audience, you're like listening to all this patient, like, oh wow, oh, there's some complication arise and everything. Still, it was interesting, I guess, for me as a woman. I just like, oh wow. So this show it doesn't make a big deal about, she's on a wheelchair, like she's a disability person or whatever. Like this show really tried to make her like she is this, like, tough. She should be tough. She's a doctor, she's running this clinic. She's not paying her electric bill. Like, what are you doing, lady? She doesn't pay her bills, the electric line get cut off. So there is some exaggeration going on, because honestly, if I'm being honest, like, to become doctor in any country is very hard profession. Most doctors are smart and very capable people. It was really hard for me to believe, she was just gambling, not taking care of her clinic. Not that doctors are not gambler. I mean, of course, they are probably gambler out there, but I'm just saying, like, what? There is some exaggeration going on. I guess end of the day, I still felt this show did missed some opportunity, like, to make it. Maybe it wasn't the point of the show, but still it could have done good job bringing this disability person, her struggle or any, like, this show never focus on that, like she just. But however, each episode starts with, we see she's like dreaming about doing some, activity or something, which is, I felt sad that time. That's the only time this show makes the audience feel sad for her. But this character, she's not that kind of character that you feel sympathy. So that is like interesting. Especially, I see a lot of people are writing this review like she's a disability person or whatever. This show never makes a big deal that she's on a wheelchair. Although sometimes it will point out, but it never makes a big deal. Like, it's not a big deal she's on wheelchair. The way she was practicing and everything, I say it's really very courageous. But because she also have all these other things going on, makes it like you don't feel for her, unfortunately. As a character, she isn't very likable. But overall, show is very interesting. Like, it is kind of like an okay series. It isn't what you think is going to be medical drama. But overall, I did thought it was interesting show that a lot of people will like this. I think still is interesting idea about, all these things she was thinking. Although now that I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe it was too much for me to see in one day. But that's how this show was wanted to be, and I think it succeeded. And that was my thought on this. Let me know in the comment, what do you think about this series? If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to check out my other reviews on other Mexican show and movie. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take care.